Hajzmanova is the spokesperson and regional coordinator for the Middle East, North and Sub-Saharan Africa at the Internal Displacement Monitoring Centre. She joins us now from Geneva. Ivana, thank you so much for your time. I mean, we'll get on to the climate crisis in a moment, but in terms of conflict creating internal displacement, what are the responsibilities of governments around the world, and are governments failing their people when they're forced to flee conflict?
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for having us. As you said, the findings of our report are very concerning, as we saw a huge increase in displacement linked to conflict and violence this year. 80% of the displacement occurred in sub-Saharan Africa. It was mostly because of conflict in northern Tigray and in northern areas of Ethiopia, as well as protracted conflict in Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo, as well as other conflicts, for example, in Afghanistan or in Sudan. We see multiple actors involved in these conflicts, and we try to unpack the different challenges in our report. And we also provide recommendations to the governments on how to deal with these crises. And we identified several good practices across continents on how governments can deal with these crises. And we try to enforce learning between the governments so that they can see how one government is dealing with the crisis. And this can help other governments to resolve the crisis of its own. And we see a lot of interest and a lot of good practices already across the world.
Listen, I don't need you to name particular countries. Okay, let's not point the finger at particular countries, but I wanted to get an idea from you, and it's unfair of me just to mention governments, because I wonder if governments and militias or rebel groups or whoever you want to call them, whether they actually try to force displacement upon populations because they can exploit what comes from displacement. When there is conflict, do you find the actors in the conflict looking to displace people so that it creates a crisis?
So in each crisis, we see that the actors have different interests and they are aiming to achieve different things. What we observed, for example, in sub-Saharan Africa in the past year was that there was an increase in attacks against civilian population, and that this drove a lot of displacement across countries in Western Africa, but also in Eastern Africa and Central Africa. So we see that civilians are getting attacked by multiple actors, and then they are forced to flee from their homes. And this also has then repercussions for their ability to recover from displacement and achieve any sort of lasting solution to their situation, because during these attacks, they usually lose their homes, they are burned, they lose access to their livelihoods. A lot of schools and other services are destroyed, and then it's much more difficult for the people to recover and return or rebuild their lives again.
And what about climate migrants, Ivana? I mean, this is only going to get worse and worse and worse, isn't it?
So what our reports show is that there was slightly less displacement as a result of disasters this year compared to previous years. However, we also saw a shift in what disasters drove displacement. While some of the monsoon or rainy seasons were less severe in 2021, we also saw a spike in internal displacement driven by drought, for example. It was the case in Eastern Africa mostly, but we also saw a huge spike in displacement as a result of volcanic eruption. I think you are well aware of the volcanic eruption in Eastern DRC, which occurred last May. For the time being, we cannot say with certainty to which degree climate change drives displacement. For this, to make any meaningful conclusions, we would need much more data than what we have available as of now. But we can already say that climate change, of course, contributes to more extreme disaster events, which can then drive displacement. But at the same time, the displacement is also caused by multiple factors linked to social, demographic, or economic factors. So climate change is definitely not the only driver of displacement.
Ivana, thank you so much indeed for your time. Really appreciate it. Ivana Hajzmanova in Geneva.